Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Garima Srivastava, a counseling psychologist. In today's video, we're going to talk about productivity in the times of the lockdown. Even though we are in lockdown, there is a lot of work that we have to do. So, whether you're a student or a working professional or a homemaker, there are multiple challenges and responsibilities that you have to take care of. And it's like we've never been in this situation before. So, it's very difficult at times to manage those responsibilities because that's not the only thing that you're doing. So, your productivity becomes a difficult goal to accomplish with the current set of challenges that you are grappling with at multiple levels. So, in this video, I'm going to give you 7 tips on how you can be more productive at home during the lockdown. So, without further ado, let's get started with the video. The first thing that I want you to think about seriously is what is productivity for you? What does it mean to you? So I would want you to actually think about and write what productivity means to you, because a lot of the times we end up following what other people are doing or what are their expectations of you. But that is not what is important. You can only have productivity goals and accomplish them if you exactly know what it is that you expect from yourself. For some people, it could be setting precise goals with regard to their job responsibilities and accomplishing them. For another person, it might be striving balance between professional and personal goals. So, whatever it is for you, please write it down and make sure that you do not get tempted or you do not feel like other people have perfect lives when you look at them on social media or when you talk to them, because each and every person is dealing with their own set of challenges. So, it's important that you have your own set of goals for productivity before we actually start thinking about what can be done to enhance your productivity. Second tip for productivity that I have for you is to break your day into smaller chunks. If you view your entire day as, one large chunk, and you try and fit in different priorities or different goals all together, it just gets mixed up and gets chaotic. So you can break your day down into smaller blocks. You could do it hour wise, you could do it task wise, because this sets clear, precise goals so you know what to expect. It brings down unpredictability. It also helps you schedule time for necessary breaks. So, this is a great way, and 2 specific techniques that you can use if you want to chunk your day into smaller parts are these 2. The one is known as the Pomodoro technique, and the second is known as the Eat the Frog technique. So, the Pomodoro techniques works like this. You basically work at a particular task for 25 minutes to be precise. So you get into that task for 25 minutes, then you take a 5-minute break. You repeat the cycle 4 times and then you take a 15 to 20-minute break. Now, what this does is that it helps you get into a task sufficiently as per what a regular person's attention span is, and then it gives you a break and then it allows you to come back into it again. So the illusion that we have when we sit with a task for a longer duration or a couple of hours is that we are doing more, but actually our attention span does not allow us to do anything beyond 25 or 30 minutes at a stretch. So try following the Pomodoro technique with regard to specific tasks. It could be working on an assignment. So you can actually break down your assignment into 25-minute chunks with 5-minute breaks. So, in the first half, you could research for your assignment. In the second part, you could make an outline. In the third part, you could start working on a particular aspect. You could do the same if you're working on an office assignment or an important deadline. The second task that talks about taking the concept of breaking your day into smaller chunks is called eating the frog technique, which means that if you have to eat the frog, which implies that if you have to do something important, urgent, challenging, you should do it probably the first thing in the morning, or you should do it within the first few hours of waking up, because that is how a lot of us function. We are the most productive during that part of the day. It is also sometimes different for some people, so you need to identify what works for you. For some people, they are the most alert and the most productive during the night. So that is where you will use eat the frog technique, which is that you will schedule tasks which are demanding, challenging, require a lot of cognitive effort during that part of the day. So it basically means that if you break down your tasks into smaller chunks, you can accomplish much more because everything is not chaotic. It's well laid out and precise. The third thing that you can do to be productive during the times of COVID-19 is to actually schedule a time to worry about the status of COVID-19. So that means that you should not randomly pick up the phone and check the status of COVID-19 either through social media or WhatsApp or news, because that not only hampers your productivity, but it also increases fear, anxiety, which also hampers your productivity. So you're not only putting breaks in your schedule that you're making with so much of an effort, but also you are enhancing mental health issues in you. So I'm not saying that you should not be aware of what is happening. Of course you should, but like I mentioned in the previous videos, having demarcated times would actually be the best thing to do. So it could be during lunch break or evening tea break, rather than the first thing in the morning or the last thing before you go to sleep. So be very mindful about scheduling time to watch the news, especially during the times of coronavirus. The fourth thing that I want to talk about again in this video is trying to stick to your normal routines as much as possible. Yes, that's right, because normal routines that we had before the lockdown happened kept us busy, engaged, allowed us to make time for different activities as per our priorities, which made us feel more normal. Well, we cannot have it 100% the same way, but it doesn't mean that we cannot have it at all. So try and have a regular routine as much as possible, which means time to sleep and wake up should be scheduled as much as possible, having time for exercise, having a specific number of hours designated to work, and then doing other regular things at home as well. So having the schedule will allow you to normalize things as much as possible. And just having a schedule for yourself is not important. It's also important that other members of the family have a normal routine, including your children. So if your children are gainfully engaged in a sort of a schedule which allows them time to study, play, be creative, that would allow you to be more productive, because if they are busy, it would automatically give you more time to do your things, and then together you have something to look forward to, such as family time later. So having a normal routine is great. It's great for your mental health, it's great for your physical health. So please try and strive that as much as possible. The fifth thing that I want you to think about is reducing clutter and trying to be a little organized in the things that you do around the house. Clutter doesn't just make us feel uncomfortable in the physical space that we are in, but it also has an effect on our mental health. So imagine this, that you use your bed to watch a movie, eat your meal, also work on your computer and finish your office work. Your brain doesn't understand what that space is meant to be, and it's just going to enhance the level of chaos, which leads to more stress in the house. So please make sure that you have demarcated spaces. That's one of the best ways to reduce clutter in the house. So when you wake up in the morning, make your bed and move out of that room that as you would on a regular day when you went to school, college, or office, and have a demarcated space to work. So even if you don't have a fancy office, it's all right. You can have a portable table, set it up with a few cushions in case you cannot have a desk and a chair, but make sure that you move there every time you want to work. And once you stop working, you move out of there. So it's very important for us to have demarcated spaces, and the same thing is with children. Make sure that they have their own playroom, play area where they're playing. When they want to have lunch, they come and have lunch on the dining table or wherever it is that you sit and have your lunch. So having demarcated spaces will help you reduce clutter, which will automatically enhance productivity. So make sure that you clean as you go along. So a lot of us are feeling overwhelmed, and sometimes we kind of keep putting off a lot of things, and then it gets piled up. So the best way to do it is clean as you go along. So when you finish working on your desk, please clean it up for the next day. If you're working in the kitchen, try and clean side by side. But having said that, taking off from the last point, you do not have to overschedule things just because you're at home. So, for example, you ran the washing machine or did laundry only 2 days in a week. You should still do that, which means that in order to reduce clutter, you need to follow a normal routine, which means that when you're working during the day, do not start doing home chores during that time, so that you know clearly what is supposed to be done when. So, this is going to help you feel more in control. Like I said, you need to increase controllability and reduce uncertainty. So this will help you increase control, feel a greater sense of control. And secondly, it'll help you get more things done, because then you're not feeling distracted by a couple of things that you're trying to do at the same time. So if you're not working from your bed, of course, you will not be tempted to lie down or start watching a show. So you need to have clear signs and signals and demarcated spaces in order to be more productive. The sixth thing, as a psychologist, I really think it's important for us to make to-do lists. So traditional conventional ways of making to-do list is to take a piece of paper and write down your tasks for the day. So you can do it the evening before you go to sleep that night, or you could do it the first thing in the morning. But what is important is what you write in that to-do list. So things that you write have to be achievable, attainable, time specific, and even specific in general. So if you have a task on the to-do list which reads as this: finish working on the deadline. Now that is something more absurd or vague. Instead of that, if you specifically say that finish writing all important emails or finish researching on this topic. So if you have specific goals, it's easier for you to know what you're supposed to do in them and hence accomplish them. So have very crisp, to the point, specific goals that are achievable, and you must strike them off as you go along, because that will help you gain a sense of accomplishment. And please reward yourself, verbally, or tell a family member about it, or like make yourself your favorite meal, because it's very important for us to focus on everything that we've achieved, because we tend to keep focusing on the things that we are not able to do. But it's equally important for us to focus on everything that you're able to do, because that is what will lead you to take up more challenges up in the future. So have to-do lists, and remember that your next morning actually starts the night before. So if you prep up for your next morning the night before, it'll help you accomplish your goals in a better manner. So it could mean putting your things or your clothes for the next day, because I did talk in the last video about you dressing up. Even if you're wearing fresh pair of pajamas, make sure that you're getting showered and getting into clothes and moving to that space. So prepare yourself. If it's a meal, you can prep up for that meal the previous night, so that you don't feel anxious the next morning, and that kind of brings down your level of productivity. So to-do list is a great way to do it. If you can think of a different way of doing it, you could even type it on your phone or any other way. Please go ahead and do it. But let me know in the comment section below what are the different ways that you make sure that you follow your goals. The seventh and the last point in order to enhance your productivity is to be able to say no. Now, if you remember, my last video was about self-care. Saying no is also an act of self-care. Just because you're at home doesn't mean that you can do more than what you were expected to do or what you were capable of doing. A lot of us are feeling this pressure to be overtly productive, because of which sometimes we're taking up much more than what we can actually accomplish. So please be realistic. Remember the first point that I talked about, productivity. Please know what does productivity mean to you and to you alone. Other people and their expectations, whether they're family members or people at work or your teachers, is secondary. If you're able to justify to your own self what productivity means and you're able to accomplish that, That's great. And then you can move on to the next thing. So it's okay to say no to something that you will not be able to do, or you took up and you were not able to carry forward with. You could talk about it to the concerned person. Just because you're at home doesn't mean that you have more time. It really doesn't mean that. In fact, it's more challenging for you to understand how you're going to be spending that time, because there could be more distractions, more set of responsibilities, more expectations, more blurring of boundaries. So it's an act of self-care, and also a great way to stay productive is to say no to things that you feel you cannot do for yourself or for others. So these were 7 easy tips to stay more productive during the lockdown. I'm just going to recap it very quickly. The first thing is to know what productivity is for you. So please write down, what do you mean by productivity, and what are the things that you feel come under that term of productivity. The second thing is to actually break your day down into smaller chunks and then accomplish them. It's much more doable that way. The third thing is to actually schedule a separate time when you would think and worry about COVID-19, and not do it throughout the day, because then it can have a spillover effect on so many other aspects of your life, interpersonally, professionally, and of course, your productivity gets impaired. Point number 4, stay as close as possible to your regular routine, because then it'll normalize things and also give you a sense of control over your life. Point number 5, try to reduce clutter as much as possible. Become organized to whatever extent that you can, and have demarcated spaces for things that you're supposed to do all through the day. This will help enhance productivity. The sixth thing is to make to-do lists and write clear, precise goals of everything that you want to do that day. Of course, they have to be realistic, achievable, and action-oriented. And make sure that you treat each day as a separate day and a new beginning, and do not carry the burden of the last day into the next day. So look at it as a fresh beginning and use a lot of to-do lists. And the last thing which will help you stay productive is to know your strengths and limitations, and say no wherever you feel you cannot do justice to something. So these were easy tips to stay productive. Let me know what you think about these tips. If there's any other technique that you use to stay productive, please list it down below. I would really love it if you like, share, and subscribe this video onto my channel, and let me know what else you would like to hear about. Thank you so much for watching. Stay productive, stay safe. Thank you.